Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 17th meeting of the Cumberland Town Planning Board. We have 100% attendance tonight, and the first item will be the minutes of the February 17th meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
Hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, we have no staff site plan approvals. We have no minor change approvals, so we'll go right into the item. And that item 1 is a public hearing, and it's amendment to an approved site plan for Wildman Woods to add 3 tent platforms, a shed/sauna, and related improvements located at 48 Blanchard Road, Tax Assessor Map U12, Lot 06, in the Rural Residential 1 and the Medium Density Residential zoning districts. And the applicant and owner is Mark Reed. Bridget?
Excuse me if I can interrupt.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself. I'm in a butter, and I do have some testimony that I would like to do, so I'm going to join the audience.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ann?
Yeah, should I mention?
Yes.
And I am also an abutter, but I feel I can be fair and impartial on this issue. So if the board is okay with it, I just assume consider it.
Board is all set? Then, fine. Thank you.
Sure.
It takes me 5 minutes to
Yeah.
get fired up. So Bridget, can you lead us into this?
Sure. So we have Mark Reed here to tell us a little bit about what he's got going on his property. We're looking at an agritourism use on the property to add 3 tent sites. Just a reminder to the board that by definition, agritourism means that you can have tent sites, but each tent site is limited to 2 people per tent site. I just thought that was a good reminder for everyone. And I'll hand it over to Mark if that's okay with the board.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, everybody. Is this thing working?
It is.
Okay. All right. So I've got some opening remarks, but primarily I think I'm here to answer questions and concerns. But I'm Mark Wildman Reed. I'm the owner of 48 Blanchard Road and the applicant for the site plan, Wildman Woods. Wildman is, in fact, my middle name, for the record, as it was my father's middle name. My father, who bought the 64-acre parcel in 1984 to prevent a housing development from going up. We lived at 43 Blanchard Road at the time, across the road. He and my mother could not be here tonight due to being in their late 80s, but they are watching from home thanks to the miracles of modern technology. So, are they over there?
Hey, Frank.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I'll try to keep it brief. Apologies in advance if I use wrong terms or imprecise language. I'm not a pro. I welcome any corrections or requests for clarification. So one quick point of fact, this slide, approximately 55 of the 64 acres are currently under an easement with CCLT, Chebet Cumberland Land Trust, with the remaining 9 acres unencumbered. And that's that line there. And I'm very happy to be partnered with CCLT on this whole project and appreciate Penny's attendance here, Penny Asherman, the executive director. So the site plan before you today, and I'll punch it in here. It's a little bit big. We can zoom in if we need to. The site plan before you is intended to support agricultural and agritourism activities on the property. Agritourism is defined in the town code as follows: a use accessory to a primary agricultural use that allows members of the general public to enter the agricultural land to view or enjoy rural activities. The term agritourism includes, but is not necessarily limited to, the following activities: on-site educational programs, guided and self-guided tours, petting zoos, farm festivals, corn mazes, harvest-your-own operations, hay rides, recreational horseback riding, or the establishment and rental of up to 4 tent sites, each accommodating no more than 2 persons per tent site, provided that such tent sites comply with all applicable provision, the state of Maine's subsurface wastewater disposal rules as amended. So at this point, the existing infrastructure on the land includes a gravel driveway, a drilled well, electrical power with 2 separate meters, a utility shed, a tool shed, a composting outhouse with 2 stalls, a composting station, a subsurface wastewater disposal system, some irrigation lines and spigots, 1 tent platform, and a deck next to a small pond. All of this has been approved by the town. Also, Fire Chief Dan Small visited the site last year and determined that there is adequate turnaround space for emergency vehicles. The proposed plan calls for the construction of 3 additional tent platforms and 1 shed/sauna. In addition to this, it calls for field parking for up to 30 vehicles and improvements to the driveway entrance in order to bring it into safety compliance for public use. The 3 additional tent platforms, as well as the existing platform, will be made available for rental or offered to friends and family. They could also be offered, use of the platforms will be managed by me or by someone I hire to manage the site on my behalf. The shed or sauna will be for personal and recreational use, enjoyment by myself, friends and family, or people staying on the campsite. Hey. The proposed improvements to the driveway are being undertaken after consultation with Assistant Town Manager Chris Boldick, Town Planner Bridget Perry, and Doug Reynolds of Goral Palmer. At their suggestion, I propose widening the first 125 feet to a width of 18 feet, reducing the grade of the first 50 feet to no more than 3%, and tapering it down to existing grade over the next 75 feet. Will also ensure that there is a turning radius of no less than 30 feet entering the driveway. Lastly, I propose a sign visible to those exiting the driveway to use caution when making a left turn out of the driveway. The last item is a point of disagreement between myself and the engineers at Goral Palmer, who are instead recommending a no left turn sign, and I want to address that. Goral Palmer's own review found that the entrance meets the minimum site distance requirement set forth by the town. That distance is 250 feet at a minimum. The measurement that I recently contracted from CV and Mahar, whose letter is included with this application, found a distance of 271 feet, which is closer to my own amateur measurement of 270 feet. In any case, the site distance clearly meets or exceeds the town standard. I am aware of the concern that drivers speed on that portion of Blanchard Road. This, however, seems like an enforcement issue to me. I don't understand how I could be required to put up a sign prohibiting drivers to make a left-hand turn when, in fact, the site distance for that left turn meets or exceeds the town's own standard. I remain willing to put up a caution sign, and I would strongly encourage the town to take whatever measures it can take to reduce driver speed on that section of Blanchard Road through any means at their disposal, and I would gladly work with neighbors to address legitimate concerns about safety by getting cars to drive slower. The field parking is intended to accommodate small and medium-sized activities such as those described in the town's agritourism definition. With a cap of 30 cars, the gatherings will be inherently limited in size. I will, of course, follow any town guidelines or ordinances in regards to noise levels, and I will strive to accommodate any reasonable requests of neighbors in regards to start and end times. I'm not planning to create the next Woodstock or establish a concert venue. Lastly, it has come to my attention that there have been some questions and concerns raised about my composting outhouse and how the human waste is handled. I'll do my best to address those concerns as I understand them. Composting outhouses are very common in Maine, and the permitting process for them is well traveled by thousands of people over decades. My own process of research led me to conversations with people at the Maine Organic Farmers and Growers Association, or MOFGA. I spoke with the people that design and implement their system of composting outhouses at the Common Ground Fair. The good people at MOFGA sent me design plans for their common thrones and put me in touch with David Studer, a soil scientist and site evaluator. I hired him to file drawings for the permit for my outhouse. I submitted those drawings to Bill Longley. He gave the permit, and he later came in and signed off on the final construction, which is actually quite lovely, built entirely of Maine-grown cedar. I have done this by the book as far as I understand the book, and I am handling the waste according to all local and state codes and laws. It will not be spread on crops. Lastly, on a personal note, I just want to say that I love this land, and I'm honored to be its steward. Everything I have done and will do is informed by my dedication to ecological principles, such as sustainability and respect for the plants and creatures that inhabit the forests and fields. I also wish to be a good neighbor and friend, to treat all of you with the same respect and care that I would wish to be treated. I am sincere in this. And I think that's all I have to say, and I'll take any questions and concerns.
Okay, questions from the board?
Bridget, a couple questions. This is an amendment to an approved site plan. Was the original site plan the CCLT where they put the parking lot in and to the
Yes.
trails and
So there's a
everything?
minor staff site plan approval in 2021, which was, I think, a shed. Carla did that. And then the last planning board approval was for the parking lot, yes.
Right, and because it's the same
It's the same
lot,
property.
it's all one site plan.
Yep.
Okay, and where on the lot is the line of demarcation between MDR and RR1?
Mark, do you know off the top of your head? Because I can,
approximately where
Yeah.
it is, and if you're referring to so it's right about there. It's right about existing 10.1. I think one of the abutters is confused. That this is a tent platform. It is not. It's a deck. The tent platform, the zone line is right there. So these, and I will make sure, I'll GPS locate them to make sure that they're behind that line.
Okay, so it's MDR
Yeah.
MDR is
MDR
towards
above-
Blanchard.
closer.
MDR is Blanchard, and then RR1 is further back.
Thank you.
Basically here.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So these two will be behind the line. I'll make sure that they're behind the line. And that's not a tent platform.
Anything else? Stacy?
Are you going to have like fireside pit type things going on?
Yeah, I went, had some communication with Bridget about this. Evidently, you can have a fire that's 3 feet wide and 3 feet high, which is a typical backyard fire. Like, I can't remember the term you used, residential, I think was the term you used. I can't remember the term you used. But that's as far as I'll go. I'm not going to make brush fires now, a couple times a year. But aside from that, yeah, there would be like, it's somewhere around here. Oh, actually, I think I'm gonna put it right there. Like a 3-foot, 3-foot diameter stone line, and there's a spigot. There's a charged hose and spigot irrigation spigot right there.
So just one location for fire and one, okay.
Not by the tent platform.
And that's been reviewed by the fire chief.
By Dan, yeah.
Yep, and anything over that, we would get a burn permit through the fire department.
Anything else?
Let me look through here.
Well, you can, we can come back.
Yeah.
Bob?
No, if you got something, go ahead. So this is, just to be clear, I wasn't here this is a previously approved project that he's adding tent sites to? Is that what the change is, just the tent sites? Like the parking lot's built and everything's already there currently?
Field parking is part of the site plan. The parking lot is CCLT's parking lot. I have an MOU, I have a memorandum of understanding for some use in cases of inclement weather and until I've gotten site approval, but that's the CCLT parking lot. Am I confusing you? Sorry.
And the site
Maybe a
plan
little bit.
was for that parking lot.
What's that?
The original site plan was in regards to that parking lot up near Blanchard Road.
Okay.
Well, what
That's
about?
already
the
built
field?
and done and approved. We're not really talking about that at this point, or?
No.
We're just talking about the 3 additional tent sites and
And the
that
shed
sauna.
and the improvements I'm making to the road in order to, but that's not really in it. That's just,
That's mostly up front.
Yeah, yeah.
Not big improvements.
and the field parking, yeah.
And that's the 30 cars, the field parking, is that what
Yeah,
you? Okay.
yeah.
So 2 people per tent site, campsite maximum, so that's
That's
8.
right. 8,
Okay.
yep.
Other questions? Ann?
Yeah, I have a few questions. looking over the conservation easement, which is very complete and sets out most of the stuff, actually. Maybe it only refers to one tent site at this point, perhaps. But anyhow, I noticed there is what they call what you call the excluded area, that's 7 acres. Could you explain that to me? And it seems to,
Yeah.
yeah.
All of the structures are within the excluded area.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
At this
maybe.
point. Earlier plans had some of it on the, so this is the
The pink.
pink area.
Pink,
is-
yeah.
Is excluded, meaning it's unencumbered from the easement, it's developable, essentially. You could
Okay.
build a home there or whatever. It's not under the easement, meaning it's not under the same terms of it's essentially a land use contract. That's the
Yes.
easement. And
Yes.
it's not, it doesn't abide by
Okay.
that.
So basically, you could build what you want there.
Yeah, it's unencumbered. Yeah.
It's 7 acres, you could put a
It's
couple of
8.
houses on
Yeah,
it.
you could.
8
One
acres.
could,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, and that's where these tents are gonna go. And the parking areas, I think, okay, so we're looking at 3 parking areas now. There's the one with the gravel surface, that big one. And then this is the one down here, that is just a
This is just field parking. Parking area A is field parking, it's just meadow.
Okay,
And this is the same.
and that's the same. And then there's that, okay.
There's
so
just like,
4.
this gravel driveway flares out at the end. It's wide enough for 3 cars to park there.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. And on the composting situation, you say the outhouse is already there, as you've just
Yeah, it's been
explained.
approved, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and I'll just ask one question on that road. Did anybody talk about putting like a mirror up there, or people? I mean, a mirror that would
A friend
show
of mine did,
people?
yeah, yeah, it's like something
Coming
like
over
that.
there?
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Yeah, I will comment, I live on Sunnyfield Lane,
Mhm.
and the traffic is too fast.
I grew up on that road, yeah.
Yeah, well, anyhow, yeah, it's, I often am sitting there, of course, waiting to take a right-hand or a left-hand turn, and we have that thing that shows the speed, and I'd say, more than half the people are going 35 miles an hour when they go through. They're supposed to be 25. And I know the town has tried to work with it. I don't know what else we can do there, but, well, okay.
Other questions? Stacy?
Is this going to be the people who are in the public, who are not part of your family, who come from the public? Is this going to be open to the public at night?
Overnight camping.
It looks like there's very limited lighting. Is that existing there? Is that?
There's existing lighting for the shed, the utility shed, but otherwise, no, I don't think lighting is for camping is required.
So if they camp overnight,
Yeah, I mean, they have their own light sources, I assume, if they're camping.
okay.
Other questions? I've got a few. Can you explain how the booking is going to happen?
Yeah, there's a site called Hip Camp. That's one. Frankly, I'm also inclined to just, it's not my priority is here is to, make enough income to cover taxes and insurance on the land. I'm not looking to make a whole lot beyond that. But Hip Camp is one. Airbnb could be another way to book it online.
So what kind of security do you have for the opening? I mean, having been through 3 high school teenagers many years ago, I mean, this looks like the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory of a possibility of high school folks. So what is the security that would prevent something like that?
I'm not hiring security. I'd be managing this myself or with a hired manager, one of the
Okay.
two.
So there's people would be basically free to come and go. I mean, there's no gate or anything. Anybody can go down there at any time of day. Is that correct?
There's no gate. I mean, I suppose there could be a gate with a code that you only people that had arranged for camping. I'd prefer not to do that. Seems just hostile. But
Well, I'm just thinking of, again, a couple of our standard conditions of approval. One of them is noise. And, I mean, that, you know, folks camp and sitting around the fire, having a few cold ones and everything. And, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's just one of the concerns we have to look at. Now, the water, are they gonna get the water from the tap that you were
Yeah.
talking about?
Yep.
And what about the sauna? That has to get water, is that correct?
Yeah, buckets of water probably.
Okay, so there's going to be no hose?
There could be. There's spigots, or there's 3 spigots on the property. One of them's relatively close to the sauna. There's no reason that you couldn't do that if that was asked for.
So the other one is lighting, so obviously with one bulb, in that case, it isn't just a bare bulb, is there some kind of covering so?
Yeah,
that-
there is. It's a sconce, like that, on the utility shed.
Okay, and, obviously the other lighting will be from, I would assume, just lanterns and,
That's what
Such.
that's what I'm envisioning. Yeah.
okay, I think that's all I have. Anybody else have anything?
I just had a question about noise level. It says noise level will be minimal. And I just wondered if that's it looks very rustic.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's anything, do you have any, minimal doesn't seem to define, I guess, noise level.
Yeah,
very
I don't know
well.
how to define decibels. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how I'm supposed to, I tried to get a beat on like what the ordinance, were there ordinances for sound or anything like that. But, I just I'm hoping it will be a quiet camping, that's the,
Things in town in the past have required decibel level metering.
There's
to-
only one zone.
Oh, I'm just saying neighbors' issues I've seen.
The only ordinance related to noise is in the town center district, and there are certain requirements that have to be met. The requirement that needs to be met here is that, essentially that there's no nuisance to the neighbors because of noise. And so there's no definition of what decibel levels need to be met. I think common courtesy is voice level talking at the property line.
So as far as timeframes for campers and things like that, is there like a certain time that like things have to be kind of shut off, so to speak? As far as like, say you were doing an advertisement, right? So
yeah, I
for
would say
this.
it had to be quiet at 9 or 10. Yeah, so that's what I would require.
Maybe a big difference between 9 and 10.
Is
but
there? Okay.
Yeah.
I would,
Just
if the
curious.
planning board has a suggestion, I would take it very seriously. Yeah.
I think getting the feedback from the
And
neighbors would
the
probably be the
abutters,
best
yeah,
thing for that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Ann?
Yeah, I have one more question. On the hiking trails and the trails through this property, are there trails through this property currently? Are they seem to, Rhines Forest goes,
Yeah, the access trail to the Rhines goes from, I can't really see it here, like the,
The dotted line, right?
yeah, that's the dotted line there. And yeah, there's a trail that goes through here and connects to it, right through there.
oh, okay, so if somebody walked down the driveway,
Yeah, someone would have to walk down the driveway to get there.
Okay.
To get there.
is there any plan to extend a trail like straight through there?
There's an existing timber trail. Basically, if you walk all the way out here, the existing farm road goes out here, and then there's a timber trail that goes out here, and that's ultimately, I think CCLT's plans are to actually turn that into a hiking trail, but it's a ways off. But there's definitely a plan for sighting trails on
Okay,
this property.
That's, I think, what I had picked up, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else from the board have any other questions? So I'm going to open,
One more.
yes.
Just as far as the composting, so it said on-ground composting of the outhouse. What does that actually consist of? I know you said you'd follow their guidelines, but do you actually know what that consists of at this point?
Yeah, evidently, my communication with this was all through MOFCA and how they dealt with it, and evidently, like human waste is treated as any other organic, like it's treated as same as like vegetable scraps essentially. So the compost bin, that is the code and the law as far as I understand it, and as far as they understand it too. So any like compost bin is yard cloth and metal stakes, and so it's penned in, keep animals out, and by the time you've gathered it in the bins with enough like organic matter, basically wood shavings.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no odor to that, and over time it just kind of degrades over time, and it takes years and years and years to fill up that one to fill up that one compost bin. Yeah.
Ann, and then Stacy.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have one more question. There is a lot of, I keep saying that, but there is a lot of discussion in your plan, and I think perhaps in the conservation easement, of some of this land being used for farming.
Yes.
Could you point that out to us there?
Yeah, sure. So currently, where this farm road is, so around this area is currently being cultivated by a man named Aaron Parker. He runs the Edgewood Nursery in West Falmouth. If anyone's ever been out there, he does perennials, perennial fruit and fruit-bearing plants. He's a horticulturist, but he's doing a bunch of cultivation here. He's also begun kind of over back here. He's silage. I think that's the word. Put a tarp silage this, and he's going to cultivate some things there. I have about 15 apple trees and 5 peach trees and witch hazel, hazelnut down in the rear meadow here. But there's still room. There's still room in this back meadow. I'm kind of like not actively seeking a farmer, but that's what this whole back, specifically this whole back meadow is really would be really good for row crop farming. If the appropriate, I haven't really begun to actively put out feelers, but be working with Maine Farmland Trust most likely to try and find a farmer for that area. And then there's a woman named Miku Paul, an indigenous Passamaquoddy elder who's doing a Three Sisters gardening. It's more like 100 square foot garden. It's really like a, bean, squash, and corn kind of, educational project around indigenous food sovereignty and that kind of thing. And she's going to be doing that over here. So that's what's going on.
Okay, very interesting.
Any other questions? Before we get letters, and so before I entertain the public testimony, that we did get one letter, but are the Wrights here? They are not, so I'll go ahead and read their letter, and then we'll open it up to the public for comment. And this is Dear Cumberland Town Planning. We are writing to express our grave concerns with the proposed development of the property at 48 Blanchard Road and to share our growing dismay with the way this project has been managed. The planning process has been shrouded in secrecy and advanced at every stage without feedback from the homeowners whose lives and land it'll most affect. This secrecy has made it impossible for residents like us to even know what the actual plan was before it was too late to stop it. We were sent an early design proposal for the now completed parking lot on Blanchard Road that showed the lot hidden in the woods opposite our home. No one wants a parking lot next to their home. It's an eyesore. But we told ourselves at least it would be hidden from view and strangers using it wouldn't be able to look directly into our backyard or kitchen window. No revised plan was ever sent. No one from planning reached out to communicate with us. As a result, we had no idea the parking lot design had changed until we saw from our kitchen window heavy machinery in the woods clear-cutting the very tree line that was supposed to hide the parking lot from view and protect our family's privacy. The hidden parking lot is emblematic of this entire planning process. When my wife and I visited the town planning office last summer to try to learn more about the proposed development and ask how it was even possible for residential property to be used for commercial endeavors, we were told about the rezoning of the Reed property. Like everything else, the rezoning was done without anyone from town planning communicating with us or other homeowners on Blanchard Road whose lives will be permanently affected by the proposal. During our visit to Town Hall, we were shown a map of the Reed property and the zone lines with the agriculture zone at the far end by the woods. Our understanding was that the rezoning applied to that specific portion of the property. The end zone farthest from Blanchard Road and our home, again from our kitchen window, we were surprised to see new construction of the commercial tent platforms taking place on the Reed property as well as outside the rezoned section. As town planning explained, the agritourism rezoning applies to the back of the Reed property, why were our commercial structures now being built on the front of the property? What is the point of having zones if the zoning lines can be altered or ignored without public discussion? During our visit to town planning, we learned another important piece of information. We were told that Mark Reed and Bridget had been working together extensively on the project behind closed doors, crafting and revising his proposal. To my knowledge, no Cumberland residents were invited to these backdoor meetings. We are struck by the fact that this letter is being written to the very same person at town planning who helped write the Reed proposal. I don't believe this is how honest and effective town planning is conducted. You are knowingly jeopardizing the safety and privacy of families like us that live next to the proposed new campground. Have any environmental or safety reviews ever been done to assess the long-term implications of turning this undeveloped private land into a commercial enterprise? Sincerely, Raymond and Sophie Wright, 42 Blanchard Road. That being written, I will open up the public hearing. Anybody from the public that wishes to comment, come up. Just state your name and where you live.
Hello, and I want to start by thanking all of you for all of your service in support of our community. My name's Richard Wolf,
Richard, could you step a little closer to the...
and I am at
Thank you.
43 Blanchard Road. That is one house and across the street, and one house closer to the center. We've been there 31 years, ever since we bought the house from Frank and Nancy Reed. I'd like to start, maybe I can get this higher. I'd like to start with an observation about what I call the access road, but what's called the farm road in the site plan description. Last summer when Story Brothers brought in all those truckloads of fill, it was very hard to understand why that was necessary, especially as it took place after the recent logging operation. In that operation, the log trucks got in and out just fine. So the additional work on the farm road looked like overkill. And I'm mentioning this simply because I would like all of you to understand the impression that you made on some of the people in the neighborhood. Now for my comments and questions related to moderating the impact of the proposed tent platform camping and public events. I'll start with 6 requests, and then time permitting, I have an additional 7 questions. I also have here 10 printouts of all my remarks, including the questions. Here's what I am requesting. These are my requests for changes. Number 1, landscaping. Something fast-growing, like arborvitae perhaps, all along the Blanchard Road frontage and at least 100 yards back along the farm road. Number 2, all 30 parking spaces to be restricted to the rear parking area. Eliminate the 10-space parking area toward the front of the property. No parking in the CCLT trail parking lot. No parking in the 2-acre farm stand area. Number 3, no more than 5 events to take place during a calendar year. Number 4, no more than 50 persons at any event. Number 5, no amplified music or sound equipment. And number 6, regarding camping, in addition to the assurances stated in the amended site plan proposal, please insert an affirmation that this will be leave no trace camping. Those are the requests that I'm making. Now for my questions. For any of the questions, if you have a ready answer, just stop me and interrupt me. After each question, I will wait briefly to see if there are answers before going on to the next question. Also, if you have these printouts, you will have them so that you can follow up on questions that you do not have an immediate answer to. Question number 1, in the agreement establishing the CCLT conservation easement, there is an excluded area. Yes, I'm reading questions that have already been asked, but I want you to know that I'm thinking about them too. That is mapped out. However, the term excluded area does not appear in the definitions section of the agreement or anywhere else. Therefore, please describe terms and conditions that apply to this area. Number 2, regarding the farm road or access road, it is stated that the existing width is 16 feet and further stated that the intention is to widen the first 125 feet to 18 feet. But has this already done? Has this already been done? Please clarify, because it was not clear to me in reviewing the site plan.
It has not been done.
Thank you. Regarding the 2-acre farm stand area, will this involve additional parking? Will it involve additional structures? Because 2 acres seems like a lot of space for a kiosk-type farm stand. Witness the farm stand on Tuttle Road, roughly across from Town Hall.
If you can, on any answer, please come up, because, no, one of the things I've tried to do with, if some of the questions come up in things, and if we can answer them right away, if we can. And so why don't we start again with the questions? Maybe something that Bridget can answer, is something we don't know, or you can answer them. So first question is what?
Terms and conditions of the excluded area.
That's right.
Is that a?
I don't have the terms and conditions of the excluded area, but I know we've got a couple experts here if they want to answer the question. It's completely unencumbered by my understanding.
Yeah, I feel like that was asked and answered by Ann.
I asked that question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I asked that question.
Yeah,
I
and
thought you answered it.
That was pretty thoroughly answered already, I think.
So there are no restrictions on on the excluded land.
No, it's unencumbered from the easement entirely, yeah.
So no terms or conditions on the excluded land.
Correct.
Okay. And then the second question was on the road expansion. This has not been completed.
Yeah, it has not been completed, no.
Third question.
The farm stand area.
I think he asked if there was if it would entail a structure. Yes, a farm stand would entail a structure. And it could involve parking, although I'm not sure that would be possible within the terms of the easement. So,
Well-
Penny's shaking her head, no, you're not building a parking area. I think that's true.
Bridget, where
Don't see
the
it.
site plan does not show a farm stand.
No.
Because I have no plans to build a farm stand in it's not part of the site plan because it's part of the easement. It's like in the future, there could be a farm stand. That's part of the.
But that would require another site
That would
plan.
That's an
required, yeah.
it would be an allowed use,
Yeah, it would be an allowed use within the easement.
but we don't have that plan.
And you're not asking for it
Answer
tonight?
is-
No.
So the answer is no farm stand at this moment. They'd
Yeah,
have
no
to
farm
go-
stand is in the site plan at this
They,
moment.
they would have to get a new site plan for that. Fourth question.
That answer to the farm stand seems to open up a whole new area of concern. But I will go on.
Now continue the questions.
Number 4. The proposed tent platforms appear to be situated in the wooded portion of the excluded area. Have these sites already been cleared because the amended site plan proposal states that no clearing of vegetation is going to take place?
Yes, go ahead.
There was a timber harvest in that area, so the areas have been cleared by virtue of the timber harvest. I don't need to clear any vegetation in order to build those 10 platforms. They have not been built, but there's plenty of space for them.
Okay. Next question.
A little follow-on on that, too. I checked the coordinates given for the tent platforms, and they have not been cleared.
Okay, next.
Simple question, how many tents to a tent platform?
That seems simple. One.
One.
Number 6, in exhibits B and C of the CCLT easement agreement, what is the field expansion area?
Is that a Penny question? We got everybody here.
Hi, Penny Asherman, Executive Director of the Sheboygan Cumberland Land Trust. Mark, when we were doing the conservation easement, had thought he might do some timber harvest to expand the field area so there could be more agriculture allowed happening on the property, and we were fine with that. So we defined that area so that it was clear in the easement, and Mark has decided not to do that at this point.
Okay, thank you, Penny.
Thank you. 7th and last, regarding the CVN Mahar attestation as to site distance adequacy, the Farm Road intersection is not visible in the photo looking west along Blanchard Road. Therefore, the photo does not demonstrate site distance adequacy. Could you clarify how the engineer reached the conclusion that a vehicle 4.5 feet high could be seen at 271 feet by a driver seated at a height of 3.5 feet? Also, the attestation is signed by Principal Engineer Jeffrey Reed. Is this a relation?
No, but that's a great question. We are not related as far as we know, and I can't speak to how CV and Mahar does their work. I'm not an engineer, but I trust their work.
Yeah, I think generally our procedure on this is, we're not engineers. We read the engineering reports. We don't profess to, as far as our expertise is concerned, to disagree. We read what it is, and we have a peer review engineer look at it, but
And the peer review is more or less in agreement with the findings.
yeah. What else you got, Richard?
That was the last of the written questions that I had down. I'll just conclude by once again thanking all of you for your work.
So, Richard, can you give us, because you had requested some things that we look at. I mean, we may or may not, but you had, at the beginning, you had some suggestions, and, you know, if we have those, as we go through our deliberations, we can at least take a look at it.
Yeah, I have the 10 copies.
Yeah, just bring them on up. We're harmless, mostly.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tom Plant. I'm in a butter to the property. I'm in the Windsor Lane subdivision at 19 Oxford. And that property is basically adjacent to the subject property, just with the
Thank you.
Cumberland Shabig Land Trust easement or property path between our two properties. I guess I really just two items that I have a little bit of concern about. You know, overall property use, I don't really have much concern. I think someone brought up noise earlier. I agree. I think there should be some level of noise curfew time, you know, put in any approval so that we're not hearing, you know, loud music at, you know, 11 or 12 p.m. I think something reasonable would be fine with me. The second item, I guess I have more of a concern with. I understand the outhouses have already been built and apparently approved. My concern is the outhouse, where it sits, it's kind of at the top of a slope, which eventually comes down to, you know, one of the creeks in the area. The application describes a gray water subsurface disposal system, essentially a leach field, which seems appropriate. But the handling of the human waste from the toilets, I guess they're described as maybe composting toilets, or that the waste will somehow be composted and then applied or used on the farm. And the applicant references the main DEP guidelines for organic composting. It's in the application. That specific document does not really apply to human waste composting. It applies to farm wastes. It actually specifically excludes things like pet wastes for the reason of, you know, vectors and pathogen concerns. I think you could also, you know, assume that that would, if they don't like pet waste, they wouldn't like human waste in there. The Maine Department of Health and Human Services regulates septic systems and also primitive disposal systems, which are allowable. They do specifically indicate that I believe some Maine DEP approval or Health and Human Services approval may be needed. I'm not sure if that authority comes through the town or not, but those rules specifically mention that any composted waste needs to be disposed of, you know, properly. And I think I have it, off-site or in a properly designed and permitted, you know, manner, whether it's a pit toilet or something like that. So I guess I'm not real clear, and it seems kind of vague. Well, is there a, you know, is this a composting toilet in and of itself that does the treatment? Or is this human waste just going to be somehow collected periodically? And it sounded like from the applicant, it's just going to go in a normal compost bin. I don't think that's allowed by the state of Maine, by Health and Human Services. Certainly any land application other than, you know, like a pit toilet or something. I mean, to me, with stormwater runoff and the creeks in the area, and it seems like there's just opportunity for vectors or pathogens to be getting to, whether it's the pond, whether it's to be the agricultural areas, that it sounds like there may be some food grown in the area. I just think there's a better way to handle that. You know, it's not up to me to decide that, but I don't feel like the applicant has adequately explored, you know, with the state of Maine, what is allowable for primitive toilets. And again, this They aren't described as composting toilets. It's just this waste is going to be composted and applied to the land, and that's my biggest concern. As you know, this is, yeah, I mean, it was rezoned for farmland. This is a suburban area. It's not out in the middle of nowhere. I think there's better ways to handle the human waste on this project, albeit they're small, but I don't feel like the applicant has necessarily uncovered what specific rules or restrictions apply to that.
Thank
So
you.
that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Reed, I have a question then. The composting toilet itself, it's a self-contained, in other words, it's the solid bottom. There's nothing leaking into the soil. There's it's just a self-contained, so there are no holes in the bottom of it.
Right.
So
It's a bin.
the thing is that the composting is either permitted by the state or it isn't, as far as, you know, it's either yes or no, they can do it or they can't. And that's something that,
Yeah, and it exists now, and I'm holding the permit that was signed by the plumbing inspector for the town with the specs on the system. So it's already been approved and permitted by the town. But I mean, we can ask questions and
well, I
answer
think my
questions as
thing
much
is
as we
that
know.
it's, that it's self-contained, so it isn't going to be leaking into the soil, which answers, but then the next question is, and we can put this, I assume, as a condition of approval, that any disposal has got to meet with state standards, and I assume the state has standards.
Just,
As far as I know, we're meeting all the standards that are
guess-
available. That's all I know.
and we can have this discussion later, but I'm not generally going to be a fan of making conditions of approval that are already regulated, because that's
I
a
understand.
never ending. But Lorraine, before you go, Bridget, was this property rezoned?
No.
Okay, so I think, when I read the letter, and that was only tonight, but I think maybe the rezoning is the addition of agritourism to the zone, but I'm not, okay.
I can't,
So
I mean, I can't tell you what they're
Right,
talking about.
I understand. Hearsay anyway. But, okay, hasn't been rezoned. Thank you.
Okay, Lorraine?
Yeah, hi, Lorraine Reardon. I am at 15 Oxford Lane. I am to the west of the property, so I am a neighbor of the earlier abutter who presented information about composting. And I have the same concern, so I thought it would be appropriate to echo some of that. So, Bridget, the document that you have in front of you, the permit, if you go to the back page of that, you're going to see 10-144 Code of Maine Rules, Chapter 241. And you'll see that there are paragraphs there regarding alternative toilets and composting toilets. And both of those, the rules state that the contents must be removed and disposed of, or must be, and then that's alternative toilets, and then composting toilets, it says waste must be removed and disposed. So essentially, that does not mean composting. So there are two in the packet, Mark, that you submitted. There's a statement in your packet on page 17 that says the composting toilets will capture waste in impervious plastic containers to be composted and used on the farm. And then on page 18, under the heading sewage, it says human waste will be collected and composted according to the best practices outlined by the Maine DEP. And similar to the previous abutter, the document that you have in your package is actually about organic composting. So it's your table scraps, it's vegetables, it's leaves, it's twigs. It's things that you would normally either generate in your kitchen or generate in your yard. It does not include human waste. I did contact the Maine Department of Environment Protection and talked to Mr. Mark King in Augusta, and he said, generally speaking, the DEP is not in favor of composting human waste. And we do have a law on the books, LD 1911, which was signed into law in April of 2022, banning the use of human waste sludge as fertilizers. So that was at the end of COVID, when we became very much aware of PFAS and forever chemicals. And that law was put into place to prevent that from happening. So basically, it is the Department of Health and Human Services that is the governing body that looks at permitting composting toilets or alternative toilets, and it is not the DEP that is involved in that. You would go to the DEP if you want to do composting of human waste, and you will have to apply for a license from the residual department. So I would argue that I don't think the applicant is fully, I would like to have a conversation about this, rather than saying that you're not fully aware. I think that your research may has been limited to the folks at the Organic Farmers Association, and that there is actually more information regarding this topic, and having that human waste not handled properly on the property, I think, is a problem. And I think that we need to have a conversation about that and what limitations can and can't happen. So I don't necessarily have a question, but I do think that there are enough things on the books that are laws and regulations and codes that prevent the composting of human waste on the property.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to comment? Go right ahead.
Hi, Nathaniel Cram, 47 Blanchard Road. I'm here representing myself and my wife Abigail, same residence. Some of the concerns, I echo some of the concerns. We would like to have the issues surrounding the human waste disposal be much more clarified and be itemized, and the actual process explained further, as opposed to what is currently said in the applicant's papers. I do have some more. I would like to request that the campground nature of this be considered a bit more thoroughly. Some of the members of the planning board and other members of the public have brought up these concerns about the who will be on this site, and it doesn't appear to be reaching out to a family of 4 who are coming with their kids for a night away. One of the things that makes campgrounds work for people to have a respectful experience is often the fact that there is a campground supervisor or attendant who will then enforce the quiet hours and enforce the requirements of that campground. So without anybody being there on site to monitor the people coming and going and the quiet hours or other things that might be happening there, it's hard to know without anything written into the applicant's requirements of what will be allowable, what time of day, when can these things occur. So I would like to see that written into it, saying that there will be quiet hours of such as 9 p.m., that there will be no amplified sound or personal music playing above a certain amount. How many cars will be limited to each of the tent platforms? We have 2 people, but that may be spending the night, but what about their 10 friends who want to come join them? We don't know anything about that limitation. I would also, Mark, is there a description of how many events that will be used for the 30 people, 30 parking spots?
Mr. Reed, you can answer on the,
Make it a matter of record. Last time I went through this, I did last year, I included a kind of like layout of frequency and size of events, and it was my understanding that really wasn't the purview of the planning board, so I kind of struck that from, I kind of removed that. So there isn't that's not in the site plan, because it was my understanding that this wasn't the correct venue for that, but I could have gotten that wrong. I don't know.
To continue, I guess my concern is that if we are having 30 cars in there at night, what is the impact of those headlights coming and going if there is if those events are happening, and how often are those happening? I think those would have a bigger impact on the neighbors and those lights going everywhere, because it's a space for parking which may or may not fall underneath the requirements of a commercial parking lot, which would have buffering, typically, requirements to adjacent residential properties to help mitigate those sorts of effects. So I would like to have more clarity and specificity written into the use of the cars, who is coming when, and how long. The other question would be, is there, and this may not be the purview of the board, as you say, but the other concern would be long-term rentals. Are people staying and living there for the summer? What type of situation does that create? And also, I guess one other question would be underneath is the toilet size and the human waste disposal, I think, would also have to be evaluated with the number of use, the amount of people attending and the use, and how that factors into the amount of human waste that would be collected. So if you're having 60 people every weekend, that's a very different impact on human waste than 8 people on occasion. So those would be my requests that be considered for this site. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to comment? Well, I'll close the public hearing. We may or may not reopen, but I'll close it. And those good comments. I'll probably get shot by Robert's Rules of Order, but I've kind of found that just having people make a comment, and if we've got ready answers, it makes more sense than to have your 3 minutes to talk. And but someday I'll probably somebody will get after me for it, but I'm going to do it till they tell me I can't. So let's bring it back to the board. There was a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff on both sides, and so I will leave it to my esteemed colleagues to see how we sort this thing out.
If I can.
Go ahead.
I will say, as far as the human feces, and it was banned in 2022, because I used to use Milorganite, which was a highly processed human feces waste done in Wisconsin, and they did sign it the governor signed it in 2022 that we can't sell that in the state of Maine any longer because of the PFAS. But it is also stating that Maine was very proactive with that legislation. But I know we can't use that in the state of Maine in our land anymore.
Any other thoughts? Stacy, have you got any thoughts?
A lot. I just, I think that Mr. Wolf's comments were appropriate to make relative to what's happening here. Just questions about how many people can be at any event. Amplified music and sound equipment. I'm just going back to noise again. There's a lot here that is not hashed out, I guess. There are a lot of questions that have been asked that I think are appropriate ones by the abutters. And I'm not sure how we move forward on that from here.
Mr. Chair, would you like to hear from Mark Reed again on the details of the composting toilet and some of the plans? Or are you good?
I'm good with
She's
it.
talking to you.
Well, all I'm concerned about is can they, what are the laws and regulations on spreading human compost?
He has no plans to spread human compost.
He said that.
No, but
He's already mentioned that.
yeah, he said he was going to actually compost it in one spot.
Correct.
I think some of the
And
comments
that's
were.
allowed under the state law
Yeah.
and was approved by the code enforcement officer.
So have we resolved that then?
I don't know. I mean, it was reviewed by the town engineer. The town code enforcement officer and plumbing inspector has a permit, did an inspection in June of 2025 on the composting site. And he was not here today, so I could not talk to him about any of this.
But what about the spreading?
He's not spreading it. I don't,
Yeah, no, he wasn't spreading.
so we can, maybe the application needs to be updated. The language
It
needs to
is-
be revised.
Does the application go into the record, or is the application just to get here, basically?
The
Question.
application is to get here, but if there are pieces of it that need to be clarified, we can clarify them here and then put them in the record. And then they'll be in the record with the application.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah, sure. I could change that language. It's in.
Okay,
it's in
just
there.
to be
I can
clear,
do that.
you don't have any plan, you're not going to spread the compost generated from the composting toilet or whatever?
No.
You're not gonna
Not
spread
going to
that
spread it around. No.
Bridget, agritourism, didn't we, when we did, this came up when I was on the planning board, and I know we went around and around and around on it. Is there something in the ordinances that covers events, time, those things?
Farm-based special events?
If they exceed a certain number of people, yes.
And what is that? Where is that?
500
Okay.
people.
So that's
That's a
probably gonna be
mass
hard to-
gathering permit. That has to go to town council.
Based
Okay.
special
So
event.
Where is that?
Yeah.
See,
We've got a farm-based,
Special
That
events.
probably is it. Where
Yeah,
where
it's
is that?
80,
There's-
chapter 81, 1. That's what I have pulled up. Farm-based special events licensing looks to me like what we're talking about here. And that's why I was wondering, and I think that there are regulations regarding
No, that's
this.
actually, it's probably pretty relevant, but that is actually, because that's actually allowed for in MDR as well. That's a different use than agritourism. It is but I think it's relevant, but,
Same use, different words.
no,
No?
No, like a
different uses,
farm-based
but-
specialty event would be a wedding at the
Wedding venue.
Sweetser Orchard.
A wedding venue, exactly. That
A
is-
farm-based specialty event would be, yeah, like a retirement party on a farm.
Okay,
Well-
and that is what I'm remembering. We didn't, agritourism is just a,
It's just a word, yeah.
Right.
It's a use.
It's a use.
But there's no specific, I don't think there's anything specific in the ordinance in regards to,
There's no chapter that defines
What a-
requirements around agrotourism.
okay.
It's
it's just any other, it's
it's
like,
an
it's a
allowed-
commercial use.
It's an allowed use, yes.
I mean, but it's like any other commercial use. We don't define exactly what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Yeah, and we don't have set operation hours, although that is the purview of the board to set.
And where is it allowed? In the, is
It's
there any
allowed
place
in
it's
RR1.
RR1. Okay. How about the little portion that's in the town center, basically?
It is not allowed into town.
Well, it's
okay, I don't-
relevantly,
I-
it's not allowed in MDR.
It's not allowed in MDR, and I can't say if it's allowed in town center or not.
Right, okay.
It was specifically added by, I wasn't here in this role at the time, but it was added by town council to allow a small number of campsites in residential areas. So technically, the state definition of a campground is over 4 tent sites, and in which case, we would then go into state permitting for campgrounds. So the background on it from the town side is that they kept it under, town council kept it under the 4, limited agritourism to 4 tent sites.
Okay.
Other thoughts, Ann?
Oh, and this has to be in the back part of the property then?
That's why we were talking
Yep.
about,
Yeah.
he's gonna have to put the tent,
Right,
it's
and
roughly,
which
the,
they
the
seem-
the split is roughly where the tent platforms
Right.
are shown, and he knows that he has to make sure that they're on the proper side of that. Otherwise, they would be an unallowed use.
Okay, so the
not being allowed
rezoning question that's raised in the letter really is the
Oh, I-
addition of agritourism
That
to
is,
our
right, that's
campsite.
maybe my assumption, but it
choose.
is solely an assumption. We don't know what the writer was referring to. But there was not a rezoning.
And I wasn't here for that, so I can't speak to it.
Okay, but it seems as though that's what it is, okay.
Other thoughts?
We've got somebody here from CCLT, so could we maybe get their comments?
Yeah, Penny, you
yeah.
got thoughts?
Thoughts on how this fits in with the original plan and?
Sure. Penny Asherman, Executive Director, Sheboygan Cumberland Land Trust. We were happy that Mark Reed and his mom approached us to do a conservation easement on the property several years ago. This 61-acre lot could have been a giant subdivision, and that's when his father originally purchased the land back in 1984, I think it was, to prevent a major subdivision. There was nothing on the property at the time to prevent a subdivision with ADUs and no noise ordinances or anything that would apply to any of that. So we worked with Mark and his mom to do a conservation easement on 54 of the 61 acres. We have a public access trail. One of the primary benefits of doing this project was to have public access from Cumberland Center into the Rhines Forest area. So that's why we have the small parking area and trail that connects into Rhines Forest. The other benefits of doing the work is that, 54 acres of land in the center area is going to be conserved, and that included agricultural land and forest land as well. And so this was an exciting project for us to work on. And from our perspective, what Mark has proposed is within the limits of the conservation easement. All the structures that he's building are in the excluded area, which the conservation easement doesn't apply to. And we're supportive of his efforts.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
Just a couple more.
Yeah, Ann, go ahead.
Yeah.
The public hearing is closed, but I will open it up because we're trying to
Go ahead.
split the baby in half, so come.
Quickly. Thank you, Chairman. Nathaniel Cram at 47 Blanchard Road. Mark, what is the plan for where the cars that are paying to use the tent platforms, where are those cars going to be parked? Because they'll be paying to be there, and they're going to be on the easement? Yes. Okay, so the commercial use will be using the conservation easement that I was very happy to support and gave a lot of money to CCLT for. And I'm very pleased about that. So they will be using the conservation easement to park for their commercial use? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board,
I just have a couple.
oh, sorry,
Just-
yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead,
just a
Ann.
couple more comments. These are all small, but again, on this letter, they mention that the parking lot, they thought the parking lot would be screened and that they can see it now. Do we have any plans, or does CCLT have any plans to put up a few more trees? I mean, it doesn't seem that bad to me. I've seen it many times, but is there any consideration to put up a few more trees on the
Penny?
one side?
Not at this time. I wasn't aware of any comments. We think the parking lot actually looks really good and is covered by trees on both sides. So when you're driving by, you know, you're really only seeing it when you're right on it. But I haven't received any comments about that.
That's the only comment. Okay. And the other thing on these composting toilets, I am aware that there are advanced composting toilets where you end up with a little brick, and then you take your little brick and just take it away. Is that something that could fit into this plan?
I know nothing about that.
Okay, well, maybe these are more advanced composting toilets, but there is the technology that exists.
I'll get to you in a second, Bob. Bob?
Yeah, real quick, I think, you know, it seems like that composting toilet question's been asked and answered.
Yeah.
At this point. One of the questions I think most of the neighbors brought up was, you know, the campsites, who's gonna be there, what time they're gonna be there, how loud's it gonna be, how you gonna handle problems? Because you have to anticipate there'll be some. And obviously the neighbors are anticipating that might be some, and how's that worked out? I think that hasn't been answered. I think there's a serious question, if I was a neighbor, I'd be seriously questioning that. So I think that in itself, and the amount of events and, you know, how big the events are, that hasn't really been, and I get that's not part of our review, but obviously it's somewhere, and maybe that's point by point as you do an event. I don't know how it works, and that's maybe it's a question when they come up. But the letter that was sent, I think it's more from the rights. You know, one of the things that I read into this is that they're really talking about backdoor meetings and Bridget, you know, closed-door meetings and some of that stuff, and that's not really, you know, I think it's important that we let the public know that her job is to be the town planner and meet with people ahead of time and help
Yes.
them navigate this process and go through it. And it's not like she's calling up people, hey, don't let anybody know. It's not a butter's job to meet those meetings until we get here in the public. This is the point of time when that happens, and I think it's important to support Bridget, that we know she's not doing anything she isn't supposed to do, and that process is working the way it's supposed to work. And, you know, I want to let the rights know that, you know, they have a right to ask questions and get answers, but they also, you know, Mr. Reed also has a right to go to Bridget and ask a bunch of questions about his property he owns. So I just think we've got to point out that it's important for her to be defended, and she's doing what she's supposed to do and the way she's supposed to do it.
Yeah, that's really good to note. So,
One more question, that actually
Yeah.
it sparked it with the events thing. I know it's, again, not something that we can necessarily answer, but based on, potentially, I'm assuming, based on the size of the event, you may bring in porta potties as opposed to just this, since it's such a big deal, because, I mean, that could probably overflow pretty quick if you have a pretty large event.
I mean, I think Mr. Wolf has got some of his things with amplified music or, and I think hours of operation. I think those are two very legitimate things. I mean, this is the woods, and I don't think we want, and I don't think the Reeds, your dad and mom are good friends, and they wouldn't want that. Stacy, any thoughts?
Bob Vale wanted to speak.
Oh, Bob, do you want to, our town councilor, I'll reopen the hearing. We're flying by the seat of our pants, but we're getting answers.
I just wanted to, you stole my thunder a little bit there with your response. I think as a condition of approval, any time that you know, I would never invite 50 friends over to my house without putting a couple of porta potties in, just knowing the capacity and a little bit of engineering about septic systems. So I think that as a condition of approval, there should be some sort of metric. Say if you exceed 20 people, a porta potty. If it's 40 people, 2 porta potties or something like that. And I'm not speaking either in favor or against this proposal, but I just thought that was it's an opportunity to place a common sense condition on it.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. And then I promise I'm going to close it so we can get the board to kind of figure out what we can do.
Hi, Tom Flanagan, 19 Oxford Lane. I know though it seems like the board feels like the composting issue is resolved. I guess I would argue that, to me, it's not. In the application itself, and I quote, you know, the applicant describes their approach that they're going to capture waste in plastic containers to be composted and used on the farm. So a little while ago, the applicant said, no, I'm not going to apply this to the land. So I don't think I'm confused anyways. Well, what are you going to do with this composted material? Is it just going to sit there in a pile forever? Yes. And some standard of, you know, treating it and, you know, pathogen reduction. To me, it would be nice if there was a condition in any approval that the applicant should coordinate with Department of Health and Human Services to make sure that that system, and I understand the system itself and the outhouse has been approved, but the fate of those, call them biosolids, you know, composted material, to me, it's very vague as to what's going to happen with those. They're going to be left on the property. Are they going to smell? I don't think there's enough information to say with certainty what's going to happen with that, and is it compliant with Health and Human Services?
Thank you.
That's my only comment.
Okay, I'm going to close the comments again. Okay, board, where are we on this thing?
Bridget, in the permit, does it talk to any sort of inspection, use? I mean, you're permitted to install it. Is there any sort of comments in that permit? Does it need to be renewed? Is it a lifetime permit? I mean, here, and while she's looking for that, and even like the porta potties, I'm somewhat hesitant to, I don't know how many porta potties should be provided for a party of what size. I don't want to just start pulling
Right.
conditions of approval out because they seem reasonable when I have no idea if they're reasonable or not. And nor do I really want to, you know, replace the planning board's idea of reasonableness against regulations and other things that are already in place. So, anything in there, in that permit?
No, not that I can see of, like no periodic inspection. I'll just read the requirement, the sewage disposal provisions. The development must be provided with a method of disposing sewage, which is in compliance with the state plumbing code. If provisions are proposed for on-site waste disposal, all such systems must conform to the subsurface wastewater disposal rules. And that's what this permit is for, a subsurface wastewater disposal permit. And then an alternative toilet is an option and is allowed and was,
But if the
Sign-
DHS says that,
this is a DHS permit that comes through to the town of Cumberland to the plumbing inspector.
Who then has said,
Who complies-
who then
who-
inspected it and said everything was fine.
And it said that it complied with the plumbing code.
But as far as the disposal, does it comply with the DHS, after the?
According to the plumbing inspector for the town of Cumberland, who is also the code enforcement officer, yes.
Well,
It was said that the words would be changed, like that was said.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, we can add a condition that they don't be, the waste isn't spread.
I mean, if we were gonna do a proposed, because of the level of concern, I would
Yeah.
be willing to consider a proposed condition of approval that simply said, any waste generated by the composting toilet shall be disposed of in accordance with state regulations, or something like that. But again, I'm kinda hesitant to just start pulling conditions of approval that say, yeah, you gotta comply with the laws, 'cause where does that stop? But in this case, I guess that maybe, if it puts some people's mind at ease, I would at least propose it and we could have that conversation. I don't, in regards to hours of operation, I don't think we can limit hours of operation because that is the very nature of camping. I think we could have a conversation, and I think, Bridget, in all of our, when we do have those discussions about hours of operation, it is done sort of as a negotiation with the applicant. We don't have any sort of ability to, except in maybe the town center district, which I do think has hours of operation. I don't think we can mandate hours of operation. I think we kind of say, your neighbors would like this, and is that
it's
acceptable?
actually right, because remember with the Rusty Lantern, that, it's going 24 hours, and of course, the usual suspects were out, and that in that particular zone, that there was no restriction on hours of operation, and I would suspect in this one, it's the same situation. Is that correct? Although
As far as I
common
know,
sense.
yeah.
Well, it came up with the concrete abatement company down on Route 1, I believe,
Oh, yeah.
as well.
Sure.
And I think we can have a conversation and we put it in as a proposed condition of approval, but there's nothing in the ordinance that allows us
Right.
to
I mean,
say-
there's a lot of operational stuff. You can't work on a construction site before 7 o'clock. I mean,
No,
there's
but
a lot of.
in the town
bus-
of Cumberland, we have no restrictions on when you can or cannot work on a construction site. We ask,
We have,
we ask applicants to not do construction work before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m.
well, that's news
There's
to me,
no
'cause
code
We have
requirement.
put conditions of approval.
It may be a
Yeah.
heavy suggestion then,
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
it is.
Right, we have put we haven't in a while, but I do recall we've done conditions of approval
Right.
with hours of operation, but those
Right.
were done where the applicant said, I am fine with that. I will agree to that being a condition of approval. We didn't, it wasn't us just, thou shalt
Yeah.
operate from X to X. But in this case, I don't think we're talking about hours of operation anyway. I think we're talking about kind of quiet hours. So
Yeah.
I think my suggestion is that the applicant use the next 5 minutes as we talk to think about what might be reasonable hours that he might be willing to build into a proposed condition of approval. I think, we could talk about landscaping. Most of these other things, I don't know how we can address. I mean, we have buffering and, sorry, not landscaping. We have a condition of approval for buffering, which could be handled by landscaping, but it can also be handled by other ways. I think that's tough in this because I think if there are 3 cars, I'm not sure it requires a lot of landscaping. If there's gonna be 50 cars, it might need landscaping. So, I don't know what the solution is there, but I'll throw it out.
Well, we also have the issue of, as I say, supervision. It's just that, you know, there needs to be, and again, I don't think we can put it into any kind of a condition, but there needs to be some kind of oversight and supervision so that we don't have issues.
But is there any legal
No.
requirement for that? No,
No,
because it's not a campground.
right. Yeah, it doesn't meet the standards of a campground.
And also, when we're talking about, I don't understand, where do we get 50 cars from?
That was probably an exaggeration, but if they're gonna be, if we're gonna fill up the 30 and the 10, so 40 plus 3, 40, I can get, right now, there are 43 proposed parking spots.
33 actually.
Oh, is that 20? Sorry.
Yeah, it's 20.
It- Parking lot B is 20, not 30?
20 and
Yes,
10
yeah.
and 3.
Okay, so 33.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but when you say 10, is that including CCLT?
No, there's a
Oh, that's separate.
There's a
CCLT is,
smaller,
Yeah, well, I
Blanchard
remember, I
Road.
was confused about the parking areas, okay. So we've
there's,
got
there's a
20.
little parking area up near Blanchard on the
Oh, I
farm
see.
road.
Yeah, right, okay.
And then 23, 3 established and potentially 20 in the field.
questions on the infamous no left turn sign. I mean, I think the thing is that whatever the peer engineer kind of is the one that represents the town on this.
Right, and they said,
Yeah, so I guess the preference of the town is to install, we've offered to purchase and install a no left turn sign at the end of the driveway. However, we can't. The sight lines comply with the law. We cannot force the applicant to do that. So,
Okay.
and that's nothing that the planning board has
We'd say
purview over.
in Vietnam, Zen Loy. Anybody that's there will understand it.
But
Anything else?
I think we're like in favor of the, just please don't, please try to avoid going left. Sign, something.
Okay, lead us through the promised land.
I've got nothing. I mean, I guess we can ask the applicant if he's willing to suggest quiet hours.
Mark Reed applicant. I would suggest 9:30, like as the time when, you know, things are quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's red.
And in the morning?
Oh, quiet before, you know. I can't imagine there's gonna be a lot of noise in the mornings, but you know, 8 o'clock, something like that.
So quiet hours 9:30 to 9:30 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound completely unreasonable to me.
No?
I didn't we did a project, I think, where we somehow, there was a project where we said, okay, we're going to do this for a year and see how it goes, and there was like a condition of approval to revisit.
In my day,
I think it was the, I think it was the, I think it was the assisted living or the over 55 or whatever that was going to go up behind Exactitude. I don't know.
That was
I just don't,
before
I mean,
me.
I don't know how many, I don't know how, if I knew there were going to be large events every weekend, I think we would want buffering on that field parking lot.
okay, yeah. fair.
If you know, if there's one event a year and the rest of the time it's,
Yeah.
I'm at a loss here.
Well, there are so many questions and so few answers.
Well, okay, so the purpose of this is not to be an event area. I mean, the purpose is agribusiness. It has to,
That's why it's under that
Stay
heading,
within-
correct?
yeah, right.
Otherwise,
Well-
it would be under farm-based special events.
Agritourism.
Well, and I did read that some more, and if there was the farm-based special events require a permit. So at that point, we could say, okay, you gotta come in and put,
Yeah.
you know, fencing up to. But I think that, I didn't see the 500 person, but if it's 500 person, that's never gonna happen on
Well,
the
that's a
site,
mass,
so-
that's the mass gathering. So if your
Right.
farm-based specialty exceeds 500, you then have to get the mass gathering,
Okay.
which is a separate ordinance. I think we're kind of struggling to make up the rules as we go too, because they're not well-defined, so.
In the farm-based specialty
Well,
events.
in
That's very
agritourism,
well
we have a definition of agritourism, which is an allowed use, but now what does that look like and what does that mean? And that's kind of up to us at this point. One of my notes is to go back and figure out some rules so that when we get
I think that's the
tent
problem,
platforms
yeah.
the next time that council has established rules.
Because the Wander thing that we approved, there weren't any campsites.
Oh,
if
no,
it
there were.
There were.
were, that's right.
There were, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Wander thing.
Yeah.
But that was out, I mean, there weren't a lot of abutters there.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have a buffering issue because it was buried up in the wood. I mean,
And they had bathrooms, so.
And they didn't do it.
They didn't.
well,
do
but,
it.
Right,
but
they
we didn't know
proposed it,
that
but
when
they
we
didn't do that,
approved.
Right.
So we have nothing to like compare it against, I guess.
So I think the idea of can we do something where we have a 1 year,
Right now, no.
can't do anything?
Yeah.
So these neighbors are just, so we, okay.
I think if it doesn't work, there's enforcement mechanisms to go in and, you know,
Well, there are enforcement mechanisms, but not for site plan,
Right.
right, but if there's a violation,
if there's a violation. But if there's,
something. Or if there's a noise violation, you know, the law enforcement gets called in.
right, yeah, I'm not, honestly, I'm not living there. But there's a mechanism to deal with noise that works for other commercial uses. And it has to work because there is no ordinance.
So we've kind of come up with a 9:30 to 8 kind of suggested hours of operation,
Quiet hours.
quiet hours.
Got that.
I don't think there's a problem, but we don't want to put it into, I mean, I think the amplified music or something, what, if any, conditions of approval should we put in?
Quiet hours, and and I'd throw it out to the board. Do we want to put something in regards to the product of the composting toilet being disposed of in?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to put that in.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, in compliance with state law.
So that's 2.
That's 2.
Is there anything else? I mean, the road is the road.
Maybe reinforce the leave no trace camping.
You're already violating it with a composting toilet. You're leaving a trace.
True. Any other conditions that we want to put on this?
I've suggested the no left turn sign, but it can't be enforced.
Yeah.
Would you like me to remove it?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the that's another one where if the applicant were agreeable to it, I'm all for it. But
Well, one of the things we do coming out of Portland Yacht Club, I hate to mention that, you're a member of the yacht club. But anyway, one of the things that we have there is that was mentioned, we have a mirror that kind of points toward on the opposite thing that points toward traffic coming from the south. And it's very useful. You get to see cars and, I mean, it isn't something that, that is legally required, but, you know, it might be something to be looked into, but I'm not sure it's a condition of approval. But a thought out there. That and 50 cents will get you something, I'm not sure what these days. So anything else that we want to add? Any thoughts by anybody else? Are we prepared to go with the findings of fact, with the conditions of approval? Ann?
Could we add something about no amplified music?
Can we do that?
Can we do that? It seems, I remember it was discussed over at Wander. I know, what?
Yeah, I'd be,
Maybe.
I don't have a problem with that.
What is technically the definition of amplified music? Like,
Then
if
you
you're,
get
are you
into
playing it from a,
decibels.
right, but are you playing like on a boombox or a Bluetooth speaker? Like, is that technically amplified music?
I think
'Cause
it
I think
is,
that,
and
I think that,
I-
all right, because I
Yeah.
think that's reasonable to
Yeah.
listen to music there.
Right.
I don't know
As
about
far
that.
as
Maybe
a
not.
small
Box.
Bluetooth,
It's a small
You know?
area and,
Again, we don't have an ordinance.
right.
right.
I
Right.
mean, we're
I mean, I would say live music would definitely be something that I would say would be not
But I
permitted,
think
but,
there's something in the zoning that would,
that would what?
I don't know.
I mean, if I lived in RR1, I could have a live band play in my backyard, right?
Unless you hit whatever standard farm,
The
you know,
500
specialty
people,
farm.
right?
And if you were subject to that, then you'd have to come get a permit.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking.
And if it's
Okay,
a guy
Yeah, when
strumming on
was
the
Wander
guitar.
approved?
Right.
When was Wander approved?
couple of years.
Wander's also a restaurant. It's different. There's
Well,
different
yeah.
rules
Yeah,
for
that's
restaurants.
Something, it wasn't just the restaurant that was approved.
There's an agricultural easement, they're part of a
Yep.
CCLT's.
Yep.
Yeah,
They have a whole contract zone in place.
but it was before 2023, so is it 2021 or 2022?
I don't know off the top of my head. I was on the board, so.
Yeah.
But they also have a contract zone that defines the uses on the entire
Well,
parcel.
that's right.
So
yeah.
it's
Okay.
really hard to compare.
So are we ready to go through the findings of fact? Yes? So Ann, can you lead us? I've got them here if you want them.
Okay, I have them also. Let
Okay.
me just see, yeah, I'll grab my. I was looking.
And we'll have to amend where we've got the conditions of approval.
That's after.
get that written.
Oh, you mean yeah, correct.
Yes? Yeah.
Lorraine Raridan, 15 Oxford Lane. For the condition of approval with regards to the composting of human waste, I would appreciate if you cite 10-144 CMR Chapter 241 of the DHHS document for subsurface wastewater disposal rule, which has two paragraphs that Mr. Reed was given as part of the permit that Bridget has cited. So he has those rules as part of that packet, and that is where, if there is a violation, it would be in violation of that document and that rule.
Lorraine, my only problem with that is I don't know what those are. I mean, and if we say that it has to be in accordance with all state regulations, is not going to cover that
Okay.
and everything else.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, so we're ready to go, Ann.
Okay. So, this would be the findings of fact, the approval standards and criteria, right?
Right. Yep.
Yep, that's it. Okay. A site plan review for Wildman Woods. Section 10, approval standards and criteria, findings of fact. A, utilization of the site. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because there will be no additional clearing and the new structures are not located in any environmentally sensitive areas. B, traffic circulation and parking. The planning board finds this standard, and we need to add, is satisfied. Those words are missing there. Is satisfied because there is adequate on-site parking for the 3 additional tent sites, and field parking areas have been established to accommodate event parking. The planning board finds that a turnaround for EMS vehicles has been provided.
And then it's not, the remove with the proposed condition of approval. Because we removed the requirement for the sign.
Okay. Period. Provided, period.
Thanks, sorry.
Okay. No, thank you. Yeah. C, stormwater management and erosion control. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because the installation of the additional structures will cause minimal disturbance and will not have adverse impacts on abutting and downstream properties. D, water, sewer, and fire protection. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because there is one well on site that will provide water for irrigation, fire protection, and drinking. The planning board finds a gray water system is in place at the wash station. E, water protection. The planning board finds the site is not located within a town aquifer protection area. The planning board finds the project will not impact groundwater because of the small scale of the project. F, floodplain management. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because the site is not located within a floodplain according to FEMA map 23005 C0517F. G, historic and archaeological resources. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because there is a letter on file from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission stating no historic or archaeological resources are known to exist. H, exterior lighting. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because no new lights are proposed. I, buffering and landscaping. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because there are no proposed changes to the landscaping plan. J, noise. The planning board finds this standard is satisfied because the noise level will be minimal and will not be a nuisance to abutting properties.
I might add the met with the proposed condition of approval.
With the proposed condition of approval?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, so that would be at the beginning then? Or the
Or you
planning
can say
board
that
finds
finds
the
that
standard is
has been-
satisfied with the,
Has been met with the proposed
Has-
condition of approval.
okay, has been met with the proposed condition of approval because the noise level will be minimal and will not be a nuisance to abutting properties. K, storage of materials. Do we need a change here?
Mhm.
Is that where we put that change? The compliance with state laws?
I don't know, are we, is that a material? Are we
This-
storing it?
This is trash and other things.
It just says
I mean-
waste.
You can add it, I mean, it's not gonna, sure.
Well, let's put it there for
Well,
now.
it's not
Yeah.
anywhere else, so.
Okay, storage of materials. The planning board finds with the proposed condition of approval that all composting must be in compliance with state law?
You're describing the standard of approval, condition of approval. Just, the planning board finds this standard is satisfied because waste will be stored behind a fenced-in area and inside bins or otherwise contained, inside bins where the lids can be securely fastened, comma, or otherwise contained on site.
What have
With
we
the
said?
condition of approval.
With the conditional.
The planning board finds that that this standard has been met with the proposed condition of approval.
Okay.
Because, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I got it.
yeah, okay, good. L, capacity of the applicant. The planning board finds the applicant is self-funded and expects minimal project costs. The planning board finds the applicant has used qualified professionals as evidenced in the application packet. M, design and performance standards are not applicable.
So,
Hold on, Peter, just one other. If we're gonna add it to storage of material, which I think is a unique description of a composting toilet, I think we maybe we should add the same with the planning board to section D, water, sewer, and fire protection.
yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
With
good.
the planning board finds that this,
We can add a specific finding in regards to the composting toilet, in addition to what's written. The planning board finds the standard is satisfied because the human waste will be stored in a state-approved.
is permitted
Something.
and with yeah, I like that.
Do you
Add it as a
add it
separate sub D,
Okay,
D1.
right.
Oh, good, yeah,
Very good.
yep,
Okay.
That makes more sense.
very
So
nice.
we're ready for a motion to adopt?
Well, hold on. We gotta let Bridget actually craft it and,
Okay.
We have
No pressure.
No, we have two conditions of
the-
approval. Yeah.
The planning board finds the standard is satisfied because a permitted composting toilet will be used and maintained by the,
just used and
used and
maintained properly.
maintained properly.
The planning board finds that this standard has been met with the proposed condition of approval.
Yep.
I will make a motion that we adopt the findings of fact as amended.
I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. So,
So, I think we have two conditions of approval. One, that quiet time shall be enforced from 9:30 PM to 8 AM. And that waste from the compostable toilet will be disposed of in accordance with all state and local rules and regulations.
okay, so are we ready for, if everybody's okay with those, then,
Hold Yeah, hey, Bridget, one last thing. Expiration of approval, is this the right one?
It is. Yes.
Awesome.
It
Okay.
is.
Okay.
So then, I will make a motion that we approve this amendment to an approved site plan for Wildman Woods to add 3 tent platforms, a shed sauna, and related improvements located at 48 Blanchard Road, tax assessor map U12, lot 06, in the rural residential 1 and the medium density residential zoning districts, subject to the expiration of approval, the standard condition of approval, and the 2 proposed conditions of approval.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stacy. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Sausage making sometimes is difficult, but it gets made. Okay, this appears to be the The last item is Bridget, do you have any indication of anything that we're seeing in April yet?
I do not. Applications are due for April's meeting next Tuesday. I have not heard anything, so I would be surprised if I saw something.
Okay,
I will keep you posted.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Okay, so moved, seconded? It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you, everybody.